April 30th, 1945, the Nazi Army's Berlin city had become a pile of ruins. A place that was once bustling with life now had only the silence of death. Everywhere there was only destruction, smoke, and the stench of death that had dissolved in the air. The roar of Soviet guns coming from somewhere far away was now so close that its echo could be heard clearly even inside the thick walls of the Führerbunker, as if someone was playing a joint drum and announcing the end. In this bunker built 28 feet below the ground, Adolf Hitler was counting the last moments of his life. The man who had once dreamed of a 1,000-year empire, who believed that the German people were above all civilizations and had the right to rule the entire world. He was now trapped in a trap of his own making, and he had no way to escape. There was a strange silence inside the bunker that was even more frightening than the noise of war outside. There was a heaviness in the air as if some unknown truth was dominating everyone. A truth that no one wanted to speak, but everyone was feeling it. Hitler's eyes were red due to the restlessness of the whole night and lack of sleep. They no longer had that old glow. His face had turned pale. The wrinkles on it had become deep, and his hands trembled badly. There was no old grace in his walk. There was no stern tone in his words. Now he only looked like a tired and defeated person. Meanwhile, on April 30th, 1945, at around 3:30 in the afternoon, the sound of a gunshot is heard from inside the bunker, after which silence spreads all around. Hitler, the killer of millions of people, had shot himself and Eva Braun, his 16-year-old girlfriend whom he had married just 36 hours ago, had also consumed cyanide. But why did the world's biggest dictator Adolf Hitler, who had a dream of ruling the whole world and who had made the biggest powers, including France, bow down to him, commit suicide? How were the last 24 hours of Hitler's life, in which the world's most powerful man was forced to crawl helplessly? German radio has just announced that Hitler is dead. It informs me that the forces of Germany have surrendered to the United Nations. Adolf Hitler was born on April 20th, 1889 in a small town of Austria, Brno-Amen. His father, Elias Hitler, was a strict and angry customs officer who was very harsh on his children. Elias often beat Adolf, due to a feeling of bitterness and rebellion grew in his mind towards his father. Adolf's mother, Clara, who was Adolf's father's third wife, was a very calm-natured woman. Adolf was emotionally very close to her. Perhaps this was his first and last deep emotional attachment. But when Adolf was only 17 years old, his mother died of cancer. This shock broke him from within. After his mother's death, he went to Vienna. He wanted to become a painter, and his dream was to become a great artist. He applied twice for admission in the Academy of Fine Arts in Vienna, but was rejected both times. This rejection deepened his frustration and bitterness. While living in Vienna, he faced an environment where anti-Semitism had spread. He started considering Jews as a cause of all his problems, and he started feeling that Jews were a threat to the society. Along with this, he became a follower of a fanatic ideology like pan-Germanism, according to which the entire German-speaking area should have been a single nation. Although he was an Austrian, when World War I started, he joined the German army as a volunteer. He fought with all his heart and soul in this war that lasted for almost 4 years, but he could only reach the rank of corporal. However, he was awarded the Iron Cross for his bravery. Germany's defeat in the war shook him to the core. He felt that Germany had been stabbed in the back, and he held the Jews and communists present in the country responsible for this. He was convinced that Germany needed a strong leader who could restore its lost glory. This is where the fire of becoming a leader ignited in him, a leader who wanted to make Germany great again. After World War I, there was an atmosphere of turmoil and confusion in Germany. Under Versailles Treaty, some parts of Germany, including Rhineland, were occupied by the Allied powers, and heavy sanctions were imposed on Germany. Due to the result of the war and this treaty, Germany's economy was destroyed. Inflation was at its peak, and the people were unhappy with unemployment. In this environment, Hitler joined the German Workers' Party, which was a small and radical party. But Hitler's oratory skills, his charismatic personality, and his sharp criticisms slowly helped the party move ahead. It kept on increasing, and later this party became the Nazi Party. There was such passion in Hitler's speeches that people used to connect with him. He used to give voice to the anger and dissatisfaction of the people and showed them a ray of hope. In 1923, he tried to topple the government in Munich, but he failed and had to go to jail. In jail, he wrote his autobiography named Menkopf, in which he told about his ideology of anti-Semitism and the future of Germany, which reached millions of people. After being released from jail, he changed his strategy and decided to come to power through elections instead of violence. Meanwhile, the Great Depression, which started in America in 1929, had spread all over the world, due to which massive unemployment and poverty was spreading all over the world. It also had a very bad impact on Germany, because during that time Germany was getting financial aid from America, which got a huge blow due to the Great Depression. Due to this, the condition of Germany became worse. Hitler took full advantage of this opportunity and showed the people the dream of making Germany a strong nation once again. His Nazi party became increasingly popular, and on January 30th, 1933, German President Paul von Hindenburg appointed Adolf Hitler as Chancellor. This was the moment from where the future of not only Germany but the whole world was going to change. After becoming Chancellor, he adopted the strategy of Sam, Dam, Dan Bed, and took all the power of Germany in his hands and started making the country dance to his tunes like a puppet. He started weakening the democratic institutions, banned all the opposition parties, took complete control over the press, and established a totalitarian dictatorship in Germany. Now only his voice resonated in the country, and his wish was the law. After this, Hitler broke the Versailles Treaty, which had imposed heavy sanctions on Germany. He reformed the army, which had become weak after the war. When he built a huge military power and his Nazi army became powerful, the first thing he did was to take back Rhineland from France, which France had occupied after World War I. After this, he occupied Austria and then parts of Czechoslovakia in 1938. The world was watching, but no one could dare to stop him because no one wanted another world war. But Hitler's ambitions had become even bigger now. Intoxicated with his growing ambitions and power, Thief Hitler attacked Poland on September 1st, 1939. This was the incident that started World War II. Poland was defeated in a few weeks. Hitler's hunger did not stop here. His army soon attacked France, Netherlands, Belgium, and Denmark and defeated them too. After this, Germany started giving a tough challenge to Britain as well, due to which massive unemployment and poverty was spreading all over the world. It also had a very bad impact on Germany, because during that time Germany was getting financial aid from America, which got a huge blow due to the Great Depression. Due to this, the condition of Germany became worse. Hitler took full advantage of this opportunity and showed the people the dream of making Germany a strong nation once again. His Nazi party became increasingly popular, and on January 30th, 1933, German President Paul von Hindenburg appointed Adolf Hitler as Chancellor. This was the moment from where the future of not only Germany but the whole world was going to change. After becoming Chancellor, he adopted the strategy of Sam, Dam, Dan Bed, and took all the power of Germany in his hands and started making the country dance to his tunes like a puppet. He started weakening the democratic institutions, banned all the opposition parties, took complete control over the press, and established a totalitarian dictatorship in Germany. Now only his voice resonated in the country, and his wish was the law. After this, Hitler broke the Versailles Treaty, which had imposed heavy sanctions on Germany. He reformed the army, which had become weak after the war. When he built a huge military power and his Nazi army became powerful, the first thing he did was to take back Rhineland from France, which France had occupied after World War I. After this, he occupied Austria and then parts of Czechoslovakia in 1938. The world was watching, but no one could dare to stop him because no one wanted another world war. But Hitler's ambitions had become even bigger now. Intoxicated with his growing ambitions and power, Thief Hitler attacked Poland on September 1st, 1939. This was the incident that started World War II. Poland was defeated in a few weeks. Hitler's hunger did not stop here. His army soon attacked France, Netherlands, Belgium, and Denmark and defeated them too. After this, Germany started giving a tough challenge to Britain as well. There was an atmosphere of panic in the whole of Europe due to this power of Hitler. His armies were moving forward rapidly, and it seemed that no one could stop them. Meanwhile, Hitler joined Italian dictator Benito Mussolini in this war. Apart from Italy, Japan, Hungary, Romania, and Slovakia, also joined Hitler and accepted accession power. When Hitler was capturing the countries of Western Europe, and he felt that he would defeat Britain very easily, then his eyes were set on capturing the Soviet Union, the biggest power of Eastern Europe. In the beginning of this war, Hitler had taken the help of Soviets to capture Poland and had made an agreement that Germany and Soviet Union would not target each other. But Hitler had become so arrogant with the continuous victories that he was convinced that he could do whatever he wanted. In this arrogance, he attacked the Soviet Union on June 22, 1941, under Operation Barbarossa. But this proved to be his biggest mistake. The vastness of the Soviet Union, the terrible cold, and the strong resistance of the Soviet Red Army caused heavy damage to the German army. Meanwhile, a big twist came in this story when on December 7, 1941, Japan suddenly attacked Pearl Harbor in America. After this, America also jumped into this war. Now, powerful countries like Britain, Soviet Union, and America united and started fighting against the Axis powers. Hitler was now fighting on many fronts. During this time, he increased his hatred against Jews even more. Under the final solution against Jews, he started systematically killing millions of Jews in concentration camps. About 60 lakh Jews were killed using gas chambers in camps like Auschwitz, Treblinka, and Sobibor. This was the biggest genocide in human history. As the war progressed, the German army weakened. It became very difficult for the German army to fight in the bone-chilling cold of the Soviets, the result of which was that 5 lakh soldiers of Hitler were killed in the Battle of Stalingrad alone, and in early 1943, 91,000 of his soldiers surrendered to the Soviet Red Army. This was the biggest turning point of World War II. A few months later, in July 1943, Hitler's ally in this war, Italian dictator Benito Mussolini, was removed from power in Italy, and a new government was formed which withdrew from the war and made a compromise with the Allied forces. This was another big blow for Hitler. With each passing day, the situation in Italy was getting worse. Hitler's Nagaji army was getting tired. Hitler's passionate speeches had lost their effect on them. The war, which had started in 1939, had dragged on till 1945 due to Hitler's madness. In these 6 years, the situation had completely changed. Hitler, who was winning everywhere from the beginning, was now on the verge of defeat. By February 1945, an atmosphere had been created against Hitler in the whole world. The world now wanted to see the end of that dictator. The Allied forces were rapidly advancing towards Germany from all sides. Germany's resources and soldiers were dwindling, and it was now having to fight a losing battle. Berlin was bombed heavily for the first time by the Soviet Union on April 20th, 1945. Incidentally, this day was also Adolf Hitler's last birthday. Just a day later, by the evening of April 21st, the Red Army's tanks had reached the outskirts of Berlin. The whole city was burning. Buildings had collapsed. There were burning vehicles on the roads, and bodies scattered everywhere and made the scene of destruction even more terrifying. Hitler's dream of becoming a third world government was falling apart, under which he wanted to capture most parts of Europe and create Greater Germany. But he had now realized that his end was near. This was the reason why he locked himself in an underground bunker in Berlin. Its name was Führerbunker. This was no ordinary bunker. It was built 28 feet below the ground and was designed by Hitler's personal architect, Albert Speer. It was made completely bomb-proof, so that no matter how much destruction was happening above, everyone inside remained safe. Hitler started living in the lower part of this bunker during his last days. His longtime partner Eva Braun, his most beloved female dog Bloody, and a few selected trusted staff members lived there with him. This bunker was now going to witness the most stressful and last moments of his life. While living inside the bunker, Hitler was now getting cut off from the reality of the outside world. He started to feel that his generals were betraying him and his army was no longer following his orders. To some extent, his suspicion was correct. On April 23, 1945, Hitler received a telegram from Hermann Göring, who was the chief of the German Air Force Luftwaffe and was considered Hitler's closest associate. Göring had written in that message that if Hitler could no longer take decisions, he should transfer the power to him. Hitler, who was already depressed and nervous, became furious after reading this telegram. In anger, Hitler removed Göring from all posts and declared him a traitor and ordered his immediate arrest. On one hand, the Red Army was entering Berlin, and on the other, Hitler's close associates were betraying him. He also came to know that Heinrich Himmler, who was another loyal man of his and was the chief of the elite guard force, Schutzstaffel, and the secret state police Gestapo, was doing secret peace negotiations with the Allied forces behind Hitler's back. This was a huge betrayal for Hitler. He became furious and declared Himmler a traitor and dismissed him from all posts. In anger, he got Himmler's personal representative Hermann Faslein killed. Whereas Faslein was the brother-in-law of Hitler's girlfriend Eva Braun, Hitler was broken from inside after getting such a betrayal from his most trusted companions. He became even more confused now. He started feeling that everyone was cheating him, and now no one was left worthy of trust. All these things were taking him on a path which perhaps he himself had never imagined. The atmosphere inside the bunker was becoming even more tense. The sounds of Soviet artillery from outside were clearly heard inside. Everyone knew that the Soviet soldiers had now come very close. Hitler's health was also deteriorating with each passing day. Symptoms of Parkinson's disease started appearing in him. His hands used to tremble. His gait had slowed down, and his face was always showing signs of fatigue. He would often keep his shaking hand in his pocket to hide it. His face had become so pale and tired that he looked 10 to 15 years older than his age. Any officer who visited him in the bunker was shocked to see his condition. His personal Dr. Theodore Morel would give him glucose and vitamin injections every day. But now all this had become ineffective. On the contrary, he would have the illusion that he was being given drugs, and he would even look at his doctor with suspicion. His condition was getting worse day by day, which was the biggest proof of his fallen morale. He was no longer the strong and inspiring leader he used to be, but a broken and defeated person who had been caught in a trap of his own making. When the morning of April 29, 1945 dawned, the sun might have risen over Berlin, but inside the Führerbunker, there was a deep darkness of fear and suffocation. Shells were raining continuously outside. The smell of gunpowder was in the air, and the fear of death was spread everywhere. Hitler had barely slept for a few hours the previous night, and that too was restless. His eyes were swollen, and defeat and exhaustion were clearly visible on his face, as if he had lost all his energy. The first news of the morning was also not good for him. Hitler's ally in the war, Benito Mussolini, and his mistress Claire Petacci were shot dead by the Italian partisans, and their bodies were publicly buried in Milan. This news scared Hitler even more. He knew that if he fell into the hands of the Soviets, he could meet the same fate. He did not want to fall into the hands of the Allied powers at any cost, and neither did he want his body to be insulted. This news further strengthened his decision to commit suicide. By the afternoon of April 29th, the atmosphere in the bunker became even more tense. Hitler called some of his loyal generals and staff. General Wilhelm Keitel and General Alfred Jordal told him that the situation outside was very bad. The Red Army had entered the very center of the city and was only a few kilometers away from the bunker. Soviet Union soldiers were now visible in every street, and their voices were clearly heard. Hitler still hoped for some counterattacks, but his generals knew that all this was useless. The armies had been scattered, and no help was going to come. Hitler's voice no longer had that commanding tone. There was only a strange sadness and fear. His physical and mental health was deteriorating rapidly. On the night of April 29th, Hitler had his last dinner with his loyal people. It was the strangest dinner of his life where, as usual, no one was talking at the table. There were only sounds of eating and drinking and a strange heaviness in the air. Hitler ate very little. His mind was somewhere else. He was thinking about his future, or perhaps about his past, about all the decisions he had taken and whose results were now in front of him. After dinner, Hitler took a shocking decision. He announced his marriage to Eva Braun, with whom he had been associated for about 16 years. Eva was an emotional girl who wanted to stay with Hitler till the last moment. It was Eva Braun's insistence to stay with Hitler in the bunker. Hitler first met Eva Braun in Munich in 1929, when Eva was only 17 years old and worked as an assistant in the studio of Hitler's personal photographer Heinrich Hoffmann. When Eva first saw Hitler, she called him a strange man with a mustache and short stature. But soon they became close to each other. The German public had no idea about this relationship because Hitler believed that a leader should appear unmarried and dedicated to the public. But now things were different. Hitler wanted to give Eva her due. The marriage took place in a small room at around 12 o'clock in the night in the presence of a few loyal companions. Eva wore a black dress, and Hitler's face was tired and sad. It was not a celebration, but a downhearted ritual performed in the shadow of death. Unfortunately, this marriage was going to last only for a day. Immediately after the marriage, Hitler called his secretary Jung and got his personal will and political testament written. This document contained his last wishes and instructions. In this document, he declared Admiral Karl Dönitz as his successor and made Joseph Goebbels the chancellor. He declared Heinrich Himmler and Hermann Göring as traitors and blamed them for his defeat. He reiterated his anti-Semitic views and justified his actions. He still believed that whatever he did was right. Hitler's last words were that he and his wife Eva were choosing death because for them death was better than the shame of surrender. He told his colleagues present there to burn his body after his death. Hitler was a Christian, and Christians do not burn the dead body but bury it. But in his last moments, Hitler was so helpless that he was ready to compromise with his religion, also because he was afraid that the Soviet soldiers would dig out his body from a grave and people would vent their anger on his body even after his death. He wanted to maintain his dignity even after his death. After this, he called his personal doctor, Dr. Werner Hasse. He asked him what is the best way to commit suicide. Dr. Hasse suggested him eat cyanide capsules and shoot himself with a gun. Hitler tested the cyanide capsule on his dog Blondie, and Blondie died instantly. It was a heartbreaking moment that shook everyone in the bunker to the core. Blondie was Hitler's most loyal companion, and her death made everyone realize that the end was very near. It was morning on April 30th, 1945. No one inside the bunker had slept all night. The morning sun was spreading its rays on the ruins of Berlin, but it was still dark inside the Führer's bunker. Hitler's restlessness was clearly visible. He was constantly turning sides. The first news of the morning was again bad. The Red Army had now reached the Brandenburg Gate, which was just a short distance from the bunker. The siege had now tightened even more, and the sounds of Soviet tanks could be heard even closer. Accepting their fate, Hitler and his wife Eva Braun got ready by dressing up. All his trusted fellow staff members present in the bunker were standing together to meet him. There was silence on everyone's face. Hitler was shaking hands with everyone one by one and mumbling something in a low voice. After this, Hitler had his last lunch with Eva Braun at around 2 p.m.